we're going to come down and click on Sony. So they have some that are already here, already built in. I know what the what to use, but you can look it up for your camera. I believe the footage that I pulled is all FX3 footage, and I wasn't 100% sure, but was my best guess. I'm assuming that they probably use Slog3 Gamut 3.cine to LC709. So basically with S-Log footage, which you most times, unless he's shooting an S-Log2, but for the most part, most people at this point in time are probably shooting S-Log3 if they're shooting on a Sony camera, if it's a newer camera. So you probably will get cameras that will require a LUT that will take your footage from S-Log3 and take it to Rec 709. And that's what these are doing. So all I'm gonna do is, I see this, I don't want the Sony Plus, the Cine to Cine Plus, that's slightly different. And then they have one in here, I think for the Sony Vegas, like that's a little bit different, but a lot of the cameras are the same. But I'm gonna go ahead and click on this. You can right click and hit apply a LUT to current node, or you can double click. And you can see now the image looks vastly different. It's a lot more vibrant. There's, color you can actually see. Like if you shot this in the field with this lady on this day, this is what you would have seen. But your camera recorded this. So all you have to do is when you bring it into your video editor program, you can put a LUT on it and do that. So that's one way to do the conversion. Totally fine. If you are very, keep it simple. Maybe you're not really a colorist. You're more of an editor. You're not going to be, you just need the footage to be basically normalized, and you're going to make some simple corrections. This works perfectly fine for that. You can even grade off of this. I'm not saying you can't. This is just I'm just keeping it simple because I don't know everybody's use case and situation. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do that, so I'm going to go ahead and reset this, reset no grade. And what we're going to do is, instead of doing it with a LUT, I'm going to basically come over to my effects, and you can do a color space transform. Now, I like to use ACES personally, but I know a lot of people prefer using the color space transform and doing it in Davinci Gamut. I just like how ACES looks on most footage, but I'm just going to take you through both ways so you can see it. Essentially similar, just a little bit different. So if you're like me and you like to color grade in ACES, this is what your workflow would be. This is how your conversion would be. Essentially, then this is super rough. This is not even necessary how you would set this up. This is mainly for instructional and demonstration purposes. But imagine you have an input and an output, and you have in the middle, you have your gray. So I'm gonna do this just so that way it makes sense. We're gonna say in, and I'm gonna say out. I'll say, oh, let's do this. ACES in, so that way we know what we're doing. ACES in, no label, 709, Rec 709 out. This is essentially the pipeline, and then this will be like the nodes in the middle are like where we do all of our color grading. So this is where all the other stuff happens. I'm gonna give myself a little space here. This is where everything else happens. And you see I did all serial nodes for this. I could make it different, but I don't have to. So basically the stuff in the middle, this is where all the creative stuff happens. We'll do whatever we want to do to make the image look however we want it to look after we've done our proper conversion. Because what you don't want to do is just take log footage and start messing with stuff, because you don't know what is normal for that camera. And you want to get the camera in its normal state first and then build on top of that. So first thing I want to do, if you're using ACES, is go down. You basically, if you know the information, it's not hard. You just look down through this list and find what the camera needs. Like I told you before, we know that it's Sony S-Log3 Gamut 3 Cine. So I'm going to use that. I'm not going to use the Venice one because that's for another Sony camera, and their log curve is different. Even though it's still Slog3, it's not Slog3 for the majority of Sony cameras. It's Slog3 for the Sony Venice, which is a very different camera. And if you're touching Sony Venice footage, you probably are not watching this video because you probably already know what you're doing. Not that you couldn't be. I'm just saying, Sony, this is a high level, Hollywood level camera that people are shooting on. A lot of us independent people and lower budget and beginners probably not touching that footage from that camera, not yet anyway. But these principles will help you when you do get to that level if you plan to go that route. All right, so you can see the process as it's happening. Things look crazy. You might get nervous, like, oh my gosh, I broke something. You didn't. You just got to finish the process. So we told it this is the camera, but it's not complete yet because now it doesn't know. It's not in proper display in the display space. All right, but like I said before, I want to work in a specific color space. And the color space I want to work in for this is ACES. So I'm going to select ACES CCT CSC. And it goes back to looking gray again, like washed out. It's like, what happened? It's all good. I just took the camera, I told it what information it is. I said, but we're not going to work in that color. We're not going to color grade in that color space from that camera. We're going to put it into ACES and then take it out of ACES and then put it into Rec 709. And now it'll make sense. And Rec 709 is what you see on your TV. That's the color space that we watch stuff in. For the most part, you might see Rec 2020 and things like that starting to come. And if you're watching something on an HDR TV or something, it might be different. But for the most of us, we still watch things in probably Rec 709. All right, so now we're going to go down back to ACES. Like I said, it's a pipeline. So we went into ACES. Now we got to tell it we're in ACES. Now we're going out to 709. So ACES CCT CSC. I can't tell. I'm not going to spend time trying to tell you why I'm using that. That's just what I've learned to use from the people the colorist that I've learned from. And I'm not trying to do that. I'm just basically showing you how this process works. And a lot of you at this point might say, okay, this is already too much. I'm just going to use the LUT, which is totally fine. Now I'm looking for Rec 709. And you see Rec 709 BT 1886. That's what I want to use for ACES. And as you can see, it is now not super gray and washed out. This shot is overexposed to a degree. You can kind of go over to your scope since waveform. And then this is where I would be like, all right, let me play with some exposure. So I'll probably go over to my HDR panel, global, and just start bringing things down. And then another way to do it, same kind of concept. I'm just going to go ahead and reset this node. Reset node grade. Reset node. But it's not going to be ACES this time. We're going to do DWG N. And mainly, you can kind of just follow the principles. If this is too technical, just stick with me because it's more so you kind of just can kind of copy and paste what I'm doing and flow from there. And as you continue to grow and learn in it, you can, figure some more stuff out. But I think sometimes just watching people do it, it's helpful too, even if you're not all the way 100% sure of what's happening. So same type of concept. This is not one I do that much. I have to make sure I do it just right. It's just converting it from log to 709. Again, most people probably would say, just let me get that LUT and just be done with it. Like I said, that's perfectly fine. The reason why I'm showing you all the ways is because they all look slightly different. And you might want to do one because of how you like your starting point to be. All right, so I'm looking for same kind of concept, and I'm looking for am I passing it? My Sony? Yeah, here we go. Sony as Gamut3.cine, and then it's a little bit more. It's a few more options you have to select, but once you know the camera, you'll know what you're supposed to do. Then you know Sony Slog3. There you go. Your color space, and then your gamma, and then your output color space. We're going to go into Davinci wide gamut. Before we were color grading in the ACES color space. Now we're going to do it in the Davinci wide gamut, which is Davinci Resolves. And then this is like the most popular one. I don't think many people use ACES on YouTube. I think I'm probably one of the few people, honestly, on YouTube who post content to YouTube. I'm probably one of the only people you will see use ACES. Like, I learned from someone who doesn't even use it, doesn't seem to use it, because it was like a super older videos he had and showing it, and that's how I learned. But I don't even think he uses it anymore. So you got Sony S Gamut 3.Cine as your input color space. Input gamma is Sony Slog3, and then your output color space is Davinci wide gamut, and then your output gamma is Davinci wide intermediate. That's a lot, I know, but that's what you got to do. Same kind of concept. So where you leave off from is where you start off at. So you see color space and gamma. It's the same for all four of these. So it's input, input, output, output. So that became our output. All the color grading happens in the middle of that. Then at the end of the pipeline, the conversion back out. Since we've been here, we've been in our color space, which is Davinci wide gamut. And in the gamma is Davinci wide intermediate. Now we tell it that's where we are, because that's where we left off at, is Davinci wide gamut, Davinci intermediate. Can I? Yeah, if you hit the D, it will actually go to that. So I'm gonna start doing that so I don't have to scroll through all the time. But now we gotta tell it where we want it to display to, and we want it to display to Rec 709. So there's a couple of options. Makes it easy, Rec 709, bam. And then you want to go to gamma, either 2.2 or 2.4. 2.2 looks like that, 2.4 looks like that. So I'm gonna just go 2.2. There's reasons why. Don't really want to go into all of that right now, but you'll be fine if you use gamma 2.2 or 2.4. Just look at it and see what it's doing. But yeah, so you can kind of see is like, okay, so all of three of those methods got us to a similar-ish looking, place. And then we, in the middle, do all the same color grading like we did before. The tools will respond slightly differently based on the color space you're in. So that's another thing to consider. But once you're in it, you're good.